Alright, putting these clutches back together with the Helix, I'm no pro on it. I'm going to tell you what I think it is, and only test driving will prove it. But first thing for sure is that there's 3 arrows on all the components you got to line up. There's an arrow in the back part of the clutch, there's an arrow on the front part of the clutch, and there's an arrow on the Helix. So you got to line all those things up. So if I line this arrow with this arrow and with this arrow, all right, like this, I'm just going to check one thing here. Yeah, rolling like that. And where's the right here? So this is how this clutch should sit when I'm done. This is lined up. They're off a bit, maybe by 10 degrees or so. It's not the end of the world. And this is lined up. This is how the clutch should fit. Now, these clutches that don't have the electronic reverse, these are the ones that have the transmission, have those pins, and you need to adjust the tension of the spring. The objective here is that when you're done, there's a certain amount of tension that you need to have when you pull on the clutch. And there's a calculation, there's a manual on how to do that, and we'll show you how to do that and very shortly here. But what we're going to do is we're going to put this clutch in the position where we believe we took it apart. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it together just with 2 bolts, put it back to where I think it needs to be, and then we'll do the test to see if it's within the right torsion or the right range. And if so, see, for me it was on that hole right here. And if it is, then we'll have a success. If not, we'll readjust it. So where do we go here? Let me figure this out here. All right. So the preload on this clutch is the process is basically, as I was mentioning, is you're going to pull on this with we'll do it with a fish scale, and you're going to get a certain amount of weight to pull it, pressure to pull it, and then you're going to release it, and you're going to get another amount of weight, and it's the addition of those two divided by 2. So it's basically the average of both of those that sets your preload. These clutches are supposed to be set around 17 pounds. I've read about people wanting to run those at higher preloads, like 20-ish pounds. So when you're putting the spring into the right position, it's obvious that there's going to be a lot of tension on it as you get it into the right position and put it in. If you put it in and you put it in lightly, obviously you've got it wrong. So I've got this in the hole that I believe is right based on my last settings, and I've got it positioned where I think it needs to be. And I know I need to turn this thing, my arrow's up here, the other arrow's here, so I need to turn this thing almost like a quarter of a turn to get it into the right spot. So I'm going to manhandle this a bit, get it in there, and then once I get it in there, I'm going to put my handy little tool here. Actually, I should get that ready, and to hold the spring in, and we'll put it in, put 2 bolts temporarily, and we'll see where we sit with the preload here. So get that ready. Let me get that in here. So I don't know if I'm going to block you here. Maybe we should take another angle. All right, so here I go. I'm going to turn this, and I've marked this here because that's where I know the roller's right. I'm going to turn it. Once I get it there, I'm going to slowly get it onto the shaft. There you go. And that's why I put tape here. Put this. Actually, you know, this is stupid. I should have actually put this here first, but that's okay. I'm going to need to cut here and get my cameraman to go and get me some tools. All right, so I got it set up. I've got these things in the holes where I think it should be. My top arrow's here, the other arrow's here, so I got to do about a quarter of a turn. And I've marked these here. This is where the rollers are based on the wear. So I'm going to turn this, manhandle this in here, turn this slowly till I get it to the right spot, and then I'm going to slowly put it inside, and then with my there you go. So let's tighten this thing in here till I start seeing that clutch come out. Don't stand in front of this thing, like I said. That could turn out to be very entertaining. Okay, it's starting to come out. That's good. All right. Now using this arrow, I'm going to line that arrow up as close as I can to the other one. And I'm going to see where the threads line up. And they actually line up very, very good actually. Well, they're about 10 degrees out. Now, I've made myself a bracket here. Very simple, 3 holes. 2 for this one. This one here is for my scale here. I should cut this and make it prettier, but it's just a piece of steel or aluminum I've got. And I'm going to use these nuts, or these bolts. I will not reuse the Torx. I do not like those. They strip easy. I will put these hex nuts instead, or hex bolts, and it's going to be a heck of a lot easier to remove and replace. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to install this plate here so that we can do our torsion check. Okay, so as simple as that. I'm going to put this in here. No Loctite, no nothing. This is it's obviously temporary. Let me get a wrench here. Alright, so I'm going to use a fish scale here, and I'm actually going to pull on the fish scale to see how much weight it takes to turn or start turning the clutch. Oh, quite a bit here actually. Oh, 28 pounds. I think that's way too much. Even if I go, and the other measurement is when you let go, and there's no way that I'm going to have an average of 16. So right off the bat, this spring is too tight. So I'm going to have to loosen it. So I'm going to mark the position I'm in right now, and we're going to go down 1 notch here. So I'm going to take these bolts out, take it out 1 notch, and we'll get back at measuring how much it takes, how much preload there's in the spring at that other setting. All right, so I tried different holes. There's quite a bit of combinations here actually, and although there's some holes on the helix, there's 2 main holes on the clutch, and one of them has another hole that's on the offset. So that kind of gives you a half of these. So you know, when you're jumping from one hole to the next, if you want to go half of one of these, then if your spring is on the bottom or on the top, depending on where your double holes are, you basically have a lot of play here. So basically, as much as you see all the holes around here, you have half as far as increment. So let's see what this gives us here. So pull on this as the clutch starts to move. I got 20 pounds. So I let it go. Gotta go. Let's see this again. So pull it, 20. Let it go. Go 15. Pull it. 20, 21. Let it go, 15. So 21 plus 15 is 36. Divide that by 2, that's 18. So 18 pounds basically of torsion on this thing. Spring torsion, because it's the average of both. The manual asks for 16. You're not going to get any closer than this, because if I increase it, I'm in the 20s. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it like that. I'm going to try the sled out. I'll mark the springs. We're going to put this thing back together, and we're going to try it out. If the sled works well, bingo, we've done it. If not, then we'll look at increasing it a bit or decreasing it. And that's as simple as that for adjusting the torsion on these springs, on these clutches.